good is the NFL at marketing its game that they can turn the release of the schedule into a serious Magno event. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. Happy schedule release day. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball, neither of which makes a big deal out of its schedule release. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates that I hope you'll take the time to check out. Tonight at 8 o'clock, it'll all be unveiled, and it'll be something that completely captivates football fandom, which I'm not going to sit here and criticize. It's up to fans what they like and what they don't like. But when you consider that you already know who the Steelers are facing, and you've known that for months, and then add on top of that the flex factor that allows the networks to move games around even after the schedule is done, it would seem like this wouldn't be a big thing. But it is. And afterward, and I'm talking immediately afterward, you will see, hear, and read in-depth analyses, grades. Strength of schedule stuff is already floating around out there, but this isn't strength of schedule. This is complexity / challenge / Steelers 2024 of schedule. And I have a feeling that what's going to happen tonight is they're going to put that schedule out. You're going to look at it. You're going to have a reaction almost immediately to whatever the opener is. That's just human nature. Do they open on the road, as they almost always seem to? Is it some big signature matchup? Is it prime time? Is it inside the division? Remember that another of the many oddities of the 2024 schedule was that the Steelers didn't play a single game inside the AFC North until after the bye. But then your next thing will be to look down and see, are they doing it to them again? And you're going to see that they don't. You're going to see that there's no Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens gauntlet in any order, because that was so fluky and so freakish. And then to have it rammed into an 11-day span, yeah, I just don't think you're going to see that occur very often, really, to anybody. But here, to lay out my own thoughts on this in advance, what I feel would be beneficial for this group of Steelers. I'm going to start with this one. Open at home. I feel as if this football team in this city need to kind of reconnect here a little bit. And I feel like there could be an extra thing in that equation depending on the quarterback. If it's Aaron Rodgers, you're going to want / need for the citizenry here to have that bonding moment. Now, if that means he goes out there and throws for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns and everyone forgets everything that they said negatively about him all summer long, okay. If it's just he plays decent and they win, okay. But I feel like it would be better to get that out of the way right up front. Just as I feel like it would be good for this collective to have some sort of positivity after finishing the 2024 season the way they did, and no doubt picking up on all of the bad vibes around here. Another thing I'll be looking for is the before and the after to the Ireland game. Now, the NFL does prefer to make sure that there's a regular old Sunday game before and a regular old Sunday game after. So you can expect that. For anybody who didn't hear yesterday, Steelers versus Vikings will be the game in Dublin, and it'll be on September 28, which is the NFL's Week 4. So you're looking at something with weeks 3 and 5 that's going to be, again, normal scheduling. The question is, what constitutes normal scheduling as it relates to the caliber of the opponent? And, by the way, the travel. Not the travel to Ireland, but the travel to wherever it is they might go before or after. The Steelers' road games in 2025, for anyone who hasn't looked at it yet, are in Chicago, Detroit, LA, that's for the Chargers. Foxborough, that's obviously for the Patriots. And East Rutherford, New Jersey against the Jets. So the one that you wouldn't want to see in that mix would be the Chargers, meaning weeks 3 and 5. Because if we're all being honest here, the Steelers should go into that game in Dublin as an underdog, given how good the Vikings were this past season. Beyond that, again, let's get a divisional game in there somewhere early, something to amp things up a little bit, facing Kenny Pickett in Cleveland, getting this defense tested by Joe Burrow. Heck, showing where this defense is against Derrick Henry and the Ravens' 299-yard ground game. And if there are holes in that defense, if there are holes anywhere on both sides of the ball, face a few better teams early on so that you can address those things before the bye, rather than what happened in 2024 when everything got exposed all at once. It was just a great big bang over the course of 11 days. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Today's J1Q. Ask and ye shall receive. I challenged listeners of this program to pipe up with what they feel dragged Will Howard down to the 6th round. In other words, not to be negative, but just to try to grasp it. What's his fatal flaw? Or, what were the things that might have scared teams? So Gina comes through, and boy, did she ever, with a list of 4 possible explanations. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it would actually take some time, meaning I'm not going to get into all the detail, but I will share with you her 4 observations. The first was that NFL teams in general evaluated this quarterback class as below average. That's a reasonable thing to bring up, and I have seen, heard, and read that being brought up. Because there had been a consensus beforehand that after Cam Ward, it was just a whole lot of who the heck knows. And there were, in fact, some people who study this sort of thing for a living who'd said that other than Ward, they wouldn't have drafted any of them. So that's how down some people were about this group. Fair thing to bring up. Her second point, 7 teams needed a QB1. And she means entering the offseason. Well, we saw the Raiders trading for Geno Smith. We saw the Jets take Justin Fields away from the Steelers. That left the Titans, the Giants, and the Saints going after their guys and getting all of them inside the draft's overall top 50. The Browns stayed out of it. The Steelers stayed out of it. And so everybody else just kept tumbling. Her third point, not even many teams needed a QB2. As she wrote here, 16 quarterbacks were drafted in rounds 2 through 7 in the past 2 drafts, meaning that half of all teams are already in the process of developing their own QB2. Add into that a dozen or so veteran backup types, and there just wasn't really that much demand. And her fourth and final point, I found this really interesting, and I'm going to read the whole thing to you, was that teams are learning to draft developmental QB2 types in round 5 or later. In other words, I'm saying this, not her. If they see someone who at the moment they project to become a viable professional backup someday, they're not going to invest one of their first 3 or 4 picks in that individual. She points out, for instance, that in 2022 and 2023, there were 4 total quarterbacks drafted in the 4th round. Since then, there have been 0 drafted in the 4th round. I wasn't aware of that at all. Why, she asks? That's when teams get great value on players expected to go late in rounds 2 and 3, which is exactly how this played out. It seems wiser to take a player with higher value, especially, this is her, at positions that teams have demonstrated an ability to develop. Now, none of this, as much as I appreciate it that she wrote, is specific to Howard, of course. This is all general. It's all about supply and demand. And I promise we'll get more into Howard's actual traits as an individual quarterback that might have hurt him. But this was one heck of a start to the conversation. Again, to Ginna, thanks for all of this. Thanks to everybody for listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. Don't forget that we've got a double shot of Steelers coming your way this afternoon. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern on both YouTube and, of course, the DK Pittsburgh Sports app and website. And we'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.